All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, it is time for the exciting conclusion to episode 6. Let's get this off. Cheers and salutations. I have my coffee refilled, and I probably have had too much of it today. But let's go ahead and get on to the game. There it is. We are Texas. Get this pesky thing out of the way. Turn that on. Yeah, that's a little better. No, that's even worse. There's Texas. How about we just have less of me and more of the game? That's always better. My name is Joe. I am the Old Humble guy. We are playing Conflict of Nations, and I am playing Texas. Looks like my infantry has come online. That will be great, fantastic for me to go ahead and let's see what they've got here in Dodge City. 2 infantry, 1 armor, and I've got 2 armor and 1 infantry. That should be good for that particular engagement right there. But what I will need to do is have more infantry columns going up to the north. So let's go ahead and take all of these guys from here to here. That should do it. Oh, hello. I don't need you. Thank you, though. Okay, let's go with those 2. This fella. You, 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 and you. Let's have them move. Let's see, I need 1, 2, 3 in Lincoln, Pierre. Okay, so y'all are going to start with, go ahead and move them up to Lincoln. And then I'm going to split 1 off because I have 1 too many and move you up to these folks in Dodge City. There you go. And he is attacking Dodge City. Okay, that'll be good. That is good. That is a good way to. Okay, so what I need is I need infantry to be able to hold these towns: Sioux City, Pierre, and Bismarck. So I need 3 infantry units to be able there. I'm also eventually going to Sioux City. Did I have them? I moved them up to Lincoln, not Sioux City. Sioux City is in Iowa. I am not ready to attack Iowa. I don't want to go into Iowa, but eventually, if I consolidate this inner river, what do they call it? Doesn't matter. If I decide to consolidate that space, I'm going to need. Oh, good. We got a new one in Amarillo, just in time, because I'm going to also move Amarillo up to Dodge City because I think I'm going to need more manpower to cover the Kansas campaign here. Because I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 infantry at least in Kansas. And I've got a couple of them up here already. Maybe I should move these fellas. Okay, since it's going to take him like 6 days to go all the way up there and back, we should move these guys up. Now, you know where these guys are going to go? They're going to go right here. They're going to go to Jeff City. And when I get fresh armor or artillery, they're going to join the campaign there, the Illinois campaign. I don't know. I'm not certain what our friends from Illinois have sent into Missouri. Not certain what they've sent into Missouri, but I am going to need to do something about that. So, okay, so he's got armor in New Orleans and he's got armor in Baton Rouge. Most certainly, just a couple of units of a couple of recon units. So once we're done over here in Shreveport, I'll bring those units down into Baton Rouge. In fact, I will go ahead and set that waypoint from Shreveport to right here so we can mass up those units. I'm going to need, let's see here. They've just started their fight there. This is exciting. Things are beginning to and wrap up, and you will go to Shreveport and hold that territory. Hold the city. until it becomes settled. I know I'm not using these units the most efficient way possible because I've just got them going all over the damn map, but that's fine. One of the rules of this game is you must be patient. Everything takes 12 hours to happen. So, like, I'm going to set all this stuff in motion, and I'm going to come back this evening around 6 or 7 o'clock before I do my live stream, which happens Thursday nights at 9 p.m. So, if you want to tune in for our live stream, I'm not sure who the guest is going to be tonight, but we'll it's a happy hour. We'll find somebody. We'll sit down. We'll chat, and we'll have us a good time. But what I always keep telling myself is, there's no rush. It's fine. I've got more units coming. It'll take 12 hours. It'll take 24 hours. It'll take 17 hours, however long it takes to build the units. So when I have infantry coming or artillery coming, let's see, what do I actually have in the build queue right now? Right now in the build queue, the only thing I've got is a a level 2 army base. And that is because I am have I already researched the artillery? That's because I've already researched the artillery. So what I want to do actually is, where we've got these army bases, these level 2 army bases, is go ahead and queue up a whole mass of artillery, because I'm going to need a few. I've got 4. This will schedule 4 of them to be built into the mobilization queue. And that will actually, what that helps me do, the cool thing about the artillery is you can set them to aggressive, and then you put them with your column of infantry and you put them with your column of artillery, and then when they get close enough to a unit, they just start firing. That saves your artillery from direct combat, that saves your infantry from direct combat, and that saves your armor from direct combat. So it actually ends up being a force multiplier, because now you don't have to produce as many units, and that makes it it slows down. Well, I don't even know if it slows down the offense, because once you take out the unit, then you take the land, and then you just move forward. You've got to fight that fight anyway. Excuse me. You've got to fight that fight anyway. So if you can fight that fight before you actually approach the enemy, it makes it really, really worth the effort and worth the money. You take a couple of tanks, a whole bunch of artillery, and a unit of infantry, and you can just sweep over the whole map, because you don't actually end up getting in direct combat with anybody. Throw in an anti-aircraft unit, and then the enemy can't even hit you with their with their air power. Okay, so the plans going forward is continuing this campaign up here in the north. We're going to go ahead and try to take this region here, and have everything consolidated on the western side of the Mississippi. I may even reach out to Illinois after I grab this piece of property. If I grab this piece of property successfully, might reach out to them and offer a ceasefire, see if they take it. If they don't take it, then we'll eventually, we're going to have to take the east side of the Mississippi, because as much as I like the idea of just gathering up the Central Plain states, the Big Ten, gathering up the Big Ten space here, and holding on to the Central Plains, and California holding on over here. That's not going to be enough as far as victory points go. South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois. That is not. I've got 300 victory points now. That's not going to be 500 points. South Dakota is going to have 100. No, South Dakota has 13. South Dakota has 13. Kentucky is 11. North Dakota another 13. Manitoba is just going to be a handful, not many. They're going to be. Manitoba's only 10 now. So basically, when you're looking at the map here, we've got 300 and something between us and California, 318 victory points right now. So we need 2,000. So we need 2,091. So we need to add a lot. And, New York has 100, Mexico has 89, 86. So we need to add, let's see here, we're at 300. We need to add 1,700. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. like the next 15 don't have 1,300 points. So we can reach out. I may reach out and do a ceasefire there with Illinois, but at some point, the math says we're going to have to start wrapping up some other people. Now, I did also mention in the first part that we've got 18, about half of the players have dropped out already, gone inactive. In this game, you need to be away from the game for 24 or 48 hours. I can't remember which one to be considered inactive. And then it drops you into the inactive. And then I think a few hours after that, they open up the game to other players. But once the game's been going on for a few days, you can't join into the game. I've tried that as well. I don't know when it gets cut off for people joining in, but you can always come back and reactivate your game. But another thing that I've noticed is when somebody jumps out to a big lead, like somebody who jumps out to a 100-point lead right at the beginning, it becomes pretty tough for you to fight back. So it's going to be a challenge, even if you're like in it. It'd be a challenge for a position like Florida or Maine or one of these other guys. You can seriously do it if you're a good player. I've seen it happen. In fact, I've been the recipient of that back when I was playing California, and I got attacked by Colorado, Montana, Idaho, Washington, British Columbia, Chihuahua, and Mexico all at the same time. Texas never did jump in on that fight, but I got everybody declared war on me all at once as I was moving my way into Colorado. I'd moved my way through Oregon, down into Nevada, Utah, Arizona, through New Mexico, and I was moving into Colorado. And Colorado declared war, Montana declared war, and it was like a cascade: Colorado, Montana, Idaho, Washington, British Columbia. Then Chihuahua eventually joined in, and then Mexico. And it was just, I was fighting off so many units all at the same time, and everything was divided up, and I couldn't get any traction. I couldn't get anything, and it was just everything was at a stalemate. I was at first place when that happened, and then New York and Maine. This was the game where New York and Maine moved up, pretty much took over control and stormed west, and then we joined up into a coalition and ended the game. Another thing I really, really like about this game is just the economics of it. It really puts into perspective the whole systems and processes, because you really need to build up your economy in order to have the resources in order to move forward through the game. If I left everything as it is right now, I simply would not have the resources to produce enough units to be able to take over and continue. You know, there'd be attrition. I'd lose hit points. I'd lose strength on my units, and then everything would slowly start to degrade faster than I'd be able to reproduce it. And eventually, the size of the army, there's upkeep on all these units, so the size of the army would eventually overwhelm the size of the economy to be able to maintain it. So it's fairly balanced in that you have to be patient, because everything takes time. You have to be patient. You have to work on the fundamental things in the game, the economics. The logistics isn't such an issue. You don't have to have roads going all over the place, but you do definitely need airports in order to be able to move infantry to the front lines and back from the front lines. And then over the next several days, as I steadily build those things up, eventually, let's see if we can look over here in the newspaper and see what's going on. Oh, look, a new study from Texas cheerleaders. Texas cheerleaders have just announced a new earth-shattering discovery, upending years of presumed knowledge. It turns out that UGLY, you ain't got no alibi. You ugly. You ugly. The visiting squad has yet to be reached for comment. I like putting those things in the newspaper because, here we go. I like putting those things in the newspaper because nobody reads the newspaper. It's basically entertainment for me. But right here, the military coup, Minnesota. This is where you find out that players have gone inactive. Minnesota has gone inactive. The commander-in-chief of Minnesota has disregarded his duties. That means he's gone inactive, and the position is now it's not a non-player position. It's just a position that is not being actively played by a human. It's being played by the AI. They'll produce units and sometimes even move them around, but the AI can be a pain in the butt. Here's another one. Chihuahua has had a military coup. Kansas had a military coup, but I've already taken over half of Kansas, so I'm not terribly worried about Kansas. Um, here's another one. Nuevo Leon. Here's another one. Ohio. Here's another one. Montana. Montana was actually in a fairly significant position. Maine, Colorado, Saskatchewan. So now, basically, I'm looking at all these that are people who have dropped out and gotten Mexico. So uh, Colorado may be ripe for the pickings. Decided to drop. They're not going to fight back. Georgia decided to drop. North Carolina. All these guys have decided to drop, or at least lost minor interest. But of course, they're also rank 1 or rank 2 players. Uh, so it may be a little longer than 12 hours for my next update. Because the next updates aren't going to be a whole lot of excitement. I'm going to be consolidating this land through the central states as we move our units up and around. These units are going to take Lincoln, and then once they take Lincoln, I'm going to move them to Pierre, and then Bismarck, and then phase of the central states going through there. Here's Saskatchewan. Here's Manitoba. Manitoba was already a non-player position. Saskatchewan is one that we will go ahead and take over. We are, it appears, on a path towards winning this game. So once we get through, we'll go through these central states, and since Montana's gone inactive, I think we might go ahead and just start picking them apart. I didn't see anything about British Columbia going inactive, which means BC. Let's see. I don't see anything about British Columbia being inactive. That was Chihuahua, Kansas, Ohio, Montana, North Carolina, Maine, Colorado, Mexico, Arizona, Saskatchewan, Iowa, Carolina, America, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Cuba, Quebec, Nicaragua. I need to send a message over to my boy down in Haiti and tell him that Cuba's gone inactive and he needs to go ahead and take over that country while he has a chance. What he really needs to do, what I like to do when I go and take over those islands, is I build a small navy, and then I go and bombard the cities. Come on, give me day number 2. I don't think British Columbia was inactive in day 2 either, because I saw movement out of BC. British Columbia, yeah, see, they're still moving in day 2. So BC is still around. Okay, so the way it is shaping up is we have 2 active coalitions. We've got me in California, British Columbia, and Yucatan. So these 2 positions are definitely active. These 2 positions are definitely active. So that means there's a whole lot of territory. This may turn down to a slap fest of the Titans, so to speak, where it's either a race to the end where the first person who can hit the number, or it might just be a knockdown, drag out fight where we ignore all this stuff and just go after each other. We'll see. I'm not sure how this is going to shape up yet. The future history of this game has yet to be written. But what I was saying, my friend down here in Haiti, we have right of way to carry. If he decides to carry his way through, he's already taken Puerto Rico. Just a couple of ships. It doesn't take much. You put them outside a city, and then you bombard the city and kill all the units inside the city. And then you have free reign to just drop units in there. Then you move your ships to the next city, do the same, next city, do the same, next city, do the same. You can take over this entire island with 2 ships, 2 corvettes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 infantry units. 2 corvettes and 5 infantry units in order to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 infantry units. I've done that with Bermuda. I've done it with the Bahamas. I've done it with the Caribbean states, Puerto Rico, Jamaica. I did it to Haiti, and I've done it to Cuba, and I've taken over the entire Caribbean basin. And that was in a game earlier when I was playing Georgia. I played Georgia, and I went and I took over the entire Caribbean basin, dropped units down in Panama, started working my way up, and then I got contacted by the player who at the time was Yucatan. He had taken over pretty much all of South America. Reached out and he said, "Hey, why don't we cooperate instead of fight against each other?" I'm like, "Okay." So we formed a coalition and then wrapped up the entire map about 2 weeks after that. So there you go. Plans are made, plans are set. It's going to be interesting to see how this as far as game theory shakes out, because we've got uh, BC and Yucatan down here. We've got a north-south alliance and an east-west alliance. And we are almost certainly going to come to blows at some point very soon, because California is going to move south and I am going to move north. BC is moving south, south and east. I am moving north and east. We're racing for the same territory. They're racing for the same territory. This is going to get exciting. Like watching a slow moving train wreck, watching two asteroids run into each other. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and reach out to Haiti and let him know what is going down in his neck of the woods. Cuba is good time to clean out and go on the offensive. All right. See if Haiti takes the initiative on Cuba there. Because he's a brand new player. This is his first game. I really would like to carry him on all the way to the end. That'd be nice. Uh, if he can go and get. Here's the challenge with coalitions. Every time you add a coalition member, you add more points to the victory point total. So in order to add a third coalition member, that person has to be able to get at least 500 victory points in order to make it easier for us to finish the game. Because right now we need 1,000. If we add a coalition member who has less than 300 points or less than as many points as we do, your role as a coalition member is to get as many points as you can to help the coalition. If the coalition can drop you and still win the game, then you're not a valuable coalition member. And that's a challenge for coalitions to add players and to add members. Right now, I'm sitting on 200. He's sitting on 100. He's going to be active in adding people. The next person we'd want to add, if we add anybody, would be New York. But I think New York went inactive. Did they? Ooh, let's check the news real quick. I can't remember. We're on day 2 for the news. I need to look at day 3. Minnesota, down here real fast, and then we're going to wrap this up because I've got other work to do. I've got Montana. See, here's one where somebody went inactive and then somebody else came and took command of the country. I've had that happen in other games too. In fact, I had a dude who was he's a high-ranked heavy swinger who's come into another game, and I don't like that plan. It just means somebody new I have to fight. New York is still active, it appears, or at least there hasn't been an announced coup for New York. Let's look and see what they're doing over here on the eastern side of the map. New York is pushing into Pennsylvania. Exciting. They've pushed their way into Vermont. Exciting. Okay, New York may be a possibility for splitting if we need to split this map 3 days. If we need an assist to hold off BC and or Yucatan, that may be an option to go. But again, if you join a coalition, you've got to hold up your end of the thing. If the 2 coalition members have 1,000 points each, and you're sitting there with 200 or 300 points, and y'all are sitting on 2,300, they could drop you and win the game without doing anything. So that is one of those things to keep in mind. So over the next 12 hours, before episode 7, what's going to happen is we're going to be moving through these central states. We're going to see how things go over here with Illinois, and the campaign down here in Louisiana is a little bit stalled because I need to clean up Shreveport. But once this gets cleaned up, then the armor moves south, and then we will take Baton Rouge and move in through Mississippi and Alabama, and then knock on the doors with Georgia and see how they're doing. Or we'll move through Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky, because these are both non-player characters and should be relatively easy to wrap up in one big fell swoop. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 positions right there that I should be able to wrap up really fast and then put pressure on Illinois and Indiana. Although it looks like Indiana's been taken over by Michigan. Yes, it has. Interesting. 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 Maybe the roadmap is laid out a little bit differently. It's not all the way to the East Coast. Maybe it's up to the Great Lakes, and helping me to consolidate everything through the Mississippi watershed. That's it. I'm not going to keep this going any longer than I need to. This was part one and part two. Thanks for tuning in for all of episode 6 today. Episode 7 will come out in 12 hours, which should be, if I remember the scheduling, this evening. Thanks a bunch, guys. Cheers and good night or good afternoon. See you next time.